Okay, welcome. We're learning Parshat Ekev 1991. We're going to finish this amazing Sisha today. Erev Shabbos, today's Erev Shabbos, and yes, so that year, Shabbos Parshat Ekev was the Shabbos that blessed the month of Elul. So he's connecting it to the month of Elul, this week's Torah portion. In the word Ekev, at the beginning of our parsha, there's a number of Perushim explanations of what Ekev means. And they're from one extreme to the next extreme. Now, Rashi explains Ekev means easy mitzvahs, lighter mitzvahs, Shadam Dash Ba'Kavav, that a person just kind of like steps on, so to speak, meaning doesn't give them too much importance. Like it's like the story I told you that my husband, he does important mitzvahs, right? Mezuzahs, Tefillah, and Sefer Torah, everybody knows are very, very holy. They have extra holiness to them, you have to be extra careful with their holiness. There's more laws regarding mitzvahs of Mezuzah, Tefillah, and Sefer Torah. So when it came to him giving a presentation at the camp for the Hasidic Cheder, here there's a school, a cheder, and the kids there are Hasidic, not Lubavitch, but Hasidic, I'm sure it's a compilation of like Vishnitz and, who knows, Karlin and all kinds. So they made a huge, huge deal out of the fact that he's a Sefer. And they imparted to the kids, when the Sefer comes, it's very, very important. My husband was pretty surprised. He thought he was just going to a camp, in Chabad, a camp is just a camp. Over there was really like, I guess, more of a learning, very, very structured learning camp. And they made a huge deal out of the fact that the Sefer was coming, and they got the kids all excited. So they were showing this is an important mitzvah. Okay? The mitzvah that a Sefer is doing is very, very important. So there are some mitzvahs, though, that are like Ekev. Like Ekev means a heel. And people kind of step on the heel. It's like, we don't necessarily have to be so careful with them, maybe. God forbid, okay? Other commentaries in the Torah say, what does Ekev mean? The Ekev means the end. The self, the kind of like you reach the culmination and the end of something. As it says, like it's common to call the thing at the beginning of the head and the thing at the end to call it the heel. Because it catches our imagination. Our head is the first, the beginning of, and our heel is at the bottom at the end. So what does Ekev over here mean? It's the end. What does it mean, the end? That it's the reward that we get after we finish all our work, after all our service of Hashem, which means the wholeness, the completion. We can reach the ultimate end of it, and we reach the reward. So Ekev could also mean for, in order. Ekev tishmo, in order to reach something, or in order to accomplish something. Or for this, because of this, you've done all this, I guess, and then you reach the end. So what it means is, according to this explanation, since and for and because and you have kept all the mitzvahs, you've listened to Hashem and kept the mitzvahs, then you will have the ultimate reward. So that's two extreme opposites. Either it means the mitzvahs that it's referring to the mitzvahs that we're not paying close attention to, we think they're not so important, or it means that at the ultimate end of all the service that you've done, because of the Ekev, because of everything that you've done and listened to, you'll get the reward. Since both these explanations of the Mefarshim, of the rabbis, are on the same verse, on the same word, there's a connection between the two. But we have to understand what's the connection between these two Perushim explanations. They're not just different, they're opposites. According to Rashi, Ekev is talking about a very low level of serving Hashem, but we're not paying close attention to smaller mitzvahs. Added Tchilat Avodah Mitzvot Kalot, lighter, easier for mitzvahs. And the Torah is like telling us here, be careful with mitzvahs that you might disregard, not pay close attention to. And Masha Enken, according to the second parasha, saying it we're referring to the reward that comes as completion and wholeness of at the end of all our service. And since we listen to Hashem and we connect to Hashem with thought, speech, and deed, Tishmaon is listen, Shmatem kept, Basitem, and you will do. So the Rebbe says that means thought, speech, and deed, and it means a wholeness. We've done everything, we've completed everything in all levels, and then we get the reward. So Sheilahi, so the question is, even Amashi himself, when it says in the Torah before, Ekev Shashmal, there's another place where it says Ekev, and that's when it says, because, or Abraham listened to my voice. Ekev means because over there, Bavur, because he fulfilled my will, then he got the whatever reward he got. Rashi over there doesn't say anything, doesn't explain anything about it. I mean, it's very clear from its own that the word Ekev means in order or before, for, because, or right, Biglal means because. So because you listened to my voice, you got rid of the word. So they ask, what makes Rashi over here give him an explanation of what the word means here? And why is he explaining it the way he does? That it's referring to mitzvahs that people disregard. Yesh Lama, the Rebbe explains it in his Yesh Lama, his explanation, his Chiddush. הגילוי נגמר בשלמות העבודה עקב פירושו סוף החטא ודודידי נפעל דווקא על ידי התחלת העבודה בתחתון ביותר מצוות קלות הנגדלים. It's referring to what we were learning this week, how the Rebbe explains that Nila Dodi is our work, our efforts, we press the buttons from below, we instigate, we initiate, we put our foot forward and we try. That is so the Rebbe says when we start, remember we said from the kal el kaveh, from the easy to the harder, we start in baby steps. So the Rebbe is saying here, what it's referring to is this idea that when we start with the baby steps and we put our foot forward and do something small and easy and then go a little gradually high and high, that is what brings us to the culmination of the whole service of our service of Hashem and the end reward. In case of it, specifically when it starts with us, we start small. We start with the easier mitzvahs, the lighter mitzvahs. So there we twist everything around. Rather than saying, be careful with those easier or lighter mitzvahs that don't seem so important, they're saying it's specifically when we keep those seemingly minutia type mitzvahs that we would disregard, that's exactly what's going to bring us in the end to the ultimate reward of everything being accomplished fully and wholly. And it's starting with the easy ones. Starting with us taking the little baby step, just putting our little effort forward. So like we said, when we start with the small, we get to we finish everything, specifically with starting with small. In general, this is what we're saying about the month of Elul in general. Even though it's the last month of the year, after we finished everything, all the service throughout the entire year, we still start Elul with an Aleph, right? Elul starts with Aleph. Because when we start, when we're just told even by the Aleph, by the beginning of our service, we, through that, get to everything. We get to the completion and the wholeness of everything. So even if we find ourselves, we think we're at the level of Aleph, we're just at the very beginning, we're just taking a little baby step. We have to see that through this Aleph, this little baby step, we're reaching everything. We're reaching the wholeness of accomplishing everything. That is paragraph 10. Paragraph 11, with Aleph, so from this we learn something more in our counting that we take for the whole month of Elul. Especially when it has to do something with what's appropriate for our time right now, is man grama, as the Rebbe calls it, the Geulah, Hamiti especially, the Geulah is an appropriate thing for our times right now. And like we explained a few times already, especially recently, that since we have to wait for Mashiach every day, According to all the signs that it says, Hine ze Mashiach Bahir Mashiach has come. Therefore, we're now always preoccupied with thought and speech about the Geulah. We're trying to connect everything that we're going through right now with the Geulah. And our service now is to hasten the Geulah. That's our focus right now. So what do we do here now? Parshat Ekev. What this parish talks about Ekev now, when we're in the generation of the heels of Mashiach, the final generation, which is called the heels of Mashiach. Hazman born that's the time that we're in now. The Rebbe says, like we know, there's two explanations about, like we mentioned before, about Ekev, that's applied to our generation, the generation of the heels of Mashiach. One, the first explanation, when we said it's like the word heel as a heel of our foot, which is the lowest level, just like the heel of the foot is the lowest part of the body in our human person, so too the generation of the Mashiach is the lowest generation compared to all the previous generations. When there is the complete darkness in the world, kaful umachupal, like we're laughing about it, how people are saying things exactly the opposite of the truth. Darkness is double and double the double. Like the rabbis say, one of the signs of times of Geulah is that there'll be unwanted darkness in the generation of the heels of Mashiach. Like they say, there'll be lots of chutzpah, etc., etc. I was watching. I did see one thing that they showed that somebody was an advocate for the terrorists stormed into a restaurant in New York and spoke to one of the UN representatives that was there, I think from the United States maybe, and started harassing her. And that was chutzpah, like a real chutzpah. She didn't care about the security or about the environment or the appropriateness. With total chutzpah, just went and harassed this person in a public restaurant. In any event, that's what it says. That's the time, the generation of the Ikos of the Mashiach, there'll be total chutzpah. And that's because all the times, the appropriate times for Mashiach to come have happened. One second, I'm sorry, I skipped a little bit. Now base paragraph 2 is the Ekev means the end of everything, which is talking about the end of Golus, the end of exile, the end of days, and immediately right miyad mamish before the coming of Mashiach, immediately preceding the coming of Mashiach, because all the times have come already. Right now we're in a time where all the predictions of times Mashiach to come have come already. And we're standing ready for the Geulah. Especially in our generation, in our times, like we've spoken a number of times, that the Yehudit Rebbe already witnessed and announced that we've done everything necessary. We've even polished the buttons, so to speak, ready for Mashiach. And the only thing that's left there, the singular thing that's left for us to do, is it's the one movement of Hashem, that He should actually take the Jewish people out of exile and take us to the land of Israel. Therefore, we ask and we beg and we ask and we scream again and again, and now even more than before. Ad Masai, until when? Connecting these two explanations of the heel and the end, the culmination, that's specifically Dafka, because the end, the heels, or the last generation, the end, Ikvasa, the heels of Mashiach, is the lowest. It's like a heel, it's the lowest part of the body. We have to actually go from below to above. Through going below to above, we reveal the wholeness of the coming of Mashiach, from above to below. So that's what we're saying. It's even though we're at the end of days, and the last thing that we need is for Hashem to take us out of exile, to actually physically move us to Eretz Yisrael all together in one soup, right? Still, the idea of Ekev is that we're at the heel. We have to take one. We're at the At the lowest of the low, we have to take one step from below. David, you're going to come pick me up? Yeah. You want? Yeah. Okay. So we're one little baby step. That's it. That's it. So even though we're waiting for Hashem to swoop us out of bellows, we're staying still. It's up to us to make them one little more little. It's specifically now when we're in the lowest generation, where we're doing little things in the darkest times that seem to be not so big, huge, and amazing. Each one of us. Okay, it doesn't mention here each one of us, but he's talking to us in general. He's talking to everybody here. The slicha for everybody. He's not talking to specific important people. He's talking about us, the generation of the heels. Okay, so how do we do this? Hold on. Okay, so through going from below to above, that reveals the wholeness of the coming Mashiach and the true and complete redemption, which will be from above to below. But until we connect, there becomes a connection of these two things together, yachad. That in the lowest of the low of exile comes the Geulah. The Geulah becomes Geulah. So that's the connection of the two, the lowest of the low with the highest of the high. The Bais Hamikdash Hashlishi in the third Bais Hamikdash. Shu Gam Bein Hamikdash Hamshulash. It's also the Bais Hamikdash Hamshulash, the third Bais Hamikdash, Hakolel Gamet Beit Hashem, which includes in it the first Bais Hamikdash and the second. And the first Bais Hamikdash was more the aspect of above to below, and the second Bais Hamikdash was more from below to above. Like we mentioned, above to below was Hashem more revealed, and there was more miracles in the first Bais Hamikdash, 5 more things that weren't in the second Bais Hamikdash. But the second Bais Hamikdash was bigger in size and lasted longer in time. Okay. שלמות החיבור, כשיש שלמות לגבי עצמות היתבח בתחתונים, שלמות החיבור דעני לדודי ודודי לי, כל מקום שנאמר לי אינו זז לעולם. So the third Bais Hamikdash will be eternal. It will have both aspects, and it will have from below to above, above to below, in the true and complete Geulah, which will be eternal. There won't be any exile afterwards. So there'll be a completion of the revelation of Hashem's essence in this lower world, and there'll be a culmination of the wholeness of the chibur, the connection of ani ledodi and dodi li, above. I'm to my beloved is to me, which is below to above and above to below. We initiate, Hashem responds. Kol makom shenamar li and ozaz Hashem. Like it says, every place that says li to me means that you don't move from there. It means it's internalized and it's more potent. So ani ledodi v'dodi li, that means Hashem is going to come back to li to me, but in a revelation that will never end. In Ozaz Misham. That's the revelation of the third Bais Hamikdash will be eternal and everlasting forever and ever. So that's when the two are put together, then it makes it an eternal edifice forever and ever, and for everyone, completely and wholly internalized for all of us. Like we'll all have the revelations, and we'll have the third Bais Hamikdash forever. So that is paragraph 11. Yud Bais up. Okay, 2 more pages. Now we're learning how this relates to the Cheshbon Tzedek, how we take an accounting in the month of Elul. We have to connect that to how we are taking the accounting in this time, the heels of Mashiach, the final stage, the ikvasa, the final moment before the Geulah. A Jew has the power, every Jew has the power to arouse himself and arouse other Jews. And so to speak, to even arouse Hashem. Like it says, let's come and think about the cheshbon, like the accounting of the entire world. How do we calculate Hashem's calculations? According to what Hashem showed us in the Torah, and according to all the miracles that Hashem has been doing for us and doing in the world. According to these calculations, it should have been that Hashem should have already a long time ago brought the Geulah, right? For sure it should have happened in the year 1991, but the Rebbe says in 1991 it should have already happened already. Hashem should have given us already Geulah Mitzvah Shleima, true and complete redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu, like we mentioned before. Especially this year, yes, I was especially in 1991 it should have happened. Why? Because according to all the calculations and all of the signs, it is the year that Mashiach is revealed in it, and that is the year where the Rebbe kept saying, right? The Rebbe would stand on say that Mashiach is going to be standing on the rooftop of the Bais Hamikdash and announcing to the Jews, "Don't be afraid." When the non-Jews are instilling fear in the entire world, there's wars going on. Don't be afraid. Mashiach is coming, and that was the year that Rebbe quoted that midrash and kept saying, "Don't fear, don't be afraid. Everything is part of the signs of Geulah that Mashiach is coming." Now, like the Rebbe mentioned over and over and over again in the year 1991, especially when we come on the 3 weeks, we learned the laws of the Bais Hamikdash. And Hashem says, it's as if we built it, as if we were preoccupied with building the Bais Hamikdash, especially when it's already prepared, everything's prepared above. We just have to draw it down below. And in we're already after the 15th of Av. Like you said, after the 15th of Av, we're all adding, it says we can add learning Torah at night. And the rabbis say whoever adds learning Torah at night after the 15th of Av, from summertime, longer nights, he will add life into his life. And we're already towards the end of after the Tu B'Av, and through keeping the last 2 Shabboses like we're supposed to, Torah promises us miyad nigalim. When we keep 2 Shabboses like we're supposed to, immediately we'll be redeemed. So the Rebbe says we're already close to the end of 2 Shabboses after Tu B'Av, so we're already close to this merit of keeping 2 Shabboses. It's the Shabbos of blessed, a month of Elul, and it's the month of Elul, the king is in the field, and then we can and we're supposed to, and we're allowed to, and we could go and greet the king, and because the king is receiving everybody with a sever panim yafos, with a gracious smile. He's like smiling, happy to see everybody, to greet everybody. And aside from this, we're in the shul, there says, and Bais Midrash of good deeds, and together with a lot of Jewish people, together many people, and each Jew, and at this place in time, has receiving tremendous power, tremendous strength. You have the merit and the responsibility to request and to ask from Hashem, Ad Masai, until when? Okay, so this is it. We're at the very, very end. Hashem has to yes, Hashem does need to take us immediately to the Holy Land together. However, the Rebbe keeps saying, we have to do our part still in the smallest baby step. Since we finished everything that we must do, and therefore we're crying out and we're demanding Ad Masai, until when? Like we spoke before, the question is, the very strong question is, if everything was done, how could it be Mashiach has not come yet? And the Rebbe says, maybe we could say, we know from the Bais Chana of the letter from the Bais Chana, where he answers to the Melech HaMashiach, answers to the Bais Chana when Bais Chana asked, when will you come? When will my master come, reveal himself? Okay, this is when the Bais Chana had an elevation of his soul. And he asked Mashiach, when are you coming? And he said, when your wellsprings will spread out to the outside. Meaning, the Mashiach's coming depends on spreading the wellsprings of Chassidus to the outside. The wellsprings of the teachings of Chassidus, will come until the outside, with the details and the aspects that are the most external, the furthest from the creation, meaning the least expected places, okay? NPR would mention this morning, or places like the most remote places where the most stronghold of Jew haters, that is the place where Hasidus reaches. That is the coming of Geulah. That is bringing the Geulah. That's what is necessary to bring Geulah. Since after all the activities of our teachers and our masters, until now, in spreading the Westmans of Hasidus in the huge volume, until even all the Chugei Sol, all the different segments of the Jewish people. So it could be that there's, the Rebbe says we could maybe say that there is a segment of the Jewish people that possibly must say, the Rebbe was saying that there is a segment of the Jewish people who have not received yet the teachings of Hasidus, have not been spread out to them. So the Rebbe says we don't have to speak at length now how much our predecessors, the Rebbe, our Hasidic masters, worked on spreading Yiddishkeit, spreading the false springs of Hasidus outside, because everybody can see how much was done, starting from the revelation of the teachings of Hasidus from the Bais Chana through the Bais Chana, and afterwards there was an addition. Every generation there was more added and added teachings through each of the Hasidic Rebbes until our generation, the generation of when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America. Both in it's done in a much higher level, much higher way than generations before us. The spreadings of the wellsprings of Hasidus is done in such a way that it encompasses and permeates all the different chugei hayadut, the different communities of Yiddishkeit, in an expansive way, or all over, biotel, b'chol makom, in every place, more. The Jews from all segments of the community, all types of Jews, and spread all over the earth, the corners of the earth, especially including translating Hasidus to the nations, to the languages of nations of the world, which allows them, the nations of the world, to reach them, to Mashadei Shalem, meaning people who speak other languages can understand Hasidus. But so too through this, the wellsprings have reached the kosu to every type of mesa of the Jewish people, b'chutza, that are in the outside, until there's no more outside, no more further place. Both in each and every Jewish person of the Jewish people, wherever they are, yesh al kolpanim, wherever they are in their level, and wherever they are in space, or wherever they are in their service of Hashem, right? They have the power and the possibility, the ability, at least, even though they're not necessarily, aligning themselves or showing connection, they have the possibility to connect themselves and to align themselves with the wellsprings of Hasidus in their life. We do see a lot of Jews that don't appear religious, don't look religious at all. They are learning Hasidus. They are. Since afterwards, since all our activities, since all the Rebbeim have done, we have done so many activities have been done through with a tremendous amount of volume, and Mashiach still has not come. Maybe we can say, perhaps, that there's another area, a specific area in the spreading to the outside of the wellsprings that we haven't come to, and maybe that's the thing that's stopping the spreading, the Mashiach coming. There's something that we haven't reached or done in the spreading of the wellsprings. So the Rebbe says, I thought of maybe there is a certain type of writing it's basically called Braille, that until then, Hasidus was not translated into or written up in Braille. So people who cannot read weren't able to. So now the Rebbe says they printed a Tanya in Braille. Okay, so this is a new stage also, maybe the final thing that was done that was necessary to translate or bring Chassidus into a language that is in the outside, that wasn't done yet, the furthest place. So that is paragraph, we finished 15. And 16, now there's more of a chiddush, something new. Okay, that I was saying with the Braille. Even though Tanya didn't come to everybody, Tanya has not reached until now to all the people who could have read it. But the fact that it has been printed in Braille or written in Braille, so it's available in Braille. So even though it hasn't reached everybody necessarily yet in Braille, still the fact that it's already was created in this typo, therefore it gives the possibility that the wellsprings of Chassidus will reach even Jews who couldn't have reached it until now. Teachings of Chassidus, especially since Tanya, also this Tanya, the Braille Tanya, reached already the 770, and which is a house of prayer, learning, and good deeds. The place where the Yehudit Rebbe lived in the last 10 years of his life, and the holiness doesn't move from this place. This place is also the source of spreading the wellsprings to the outside, to the whole, all the last places in the world, furthest places of the world. And we had the merit to track out into the service in this shul, in this base medrash, in this place of learning, in this house of good deeds, which is 770, to make up for bringing Chassidus, for bringing this place, especially to spread the wellsprings of Chassidus from here, in a way of going up in holiness, doing more and more. Meaning, since the Yehudit Rebbe, last 10 years there, since then it's been increased. The wellsprings have been spread out from 770 more and more in a way of going up in holiness. And the Rebbe said we can add that since Sefer Tanya, which is the Torah, it's called the Torah, the written Torah of Chassidus, Parshat Ekev. It's understood that with Tanya is included everything, all the wellsprings of Chassidus, from the Bais Chana of teachings of Chassidus, is in a nutshell in Tanya. Like it says that with within the written Torah is alluded to and hinted to the whole oral Torah. So, and especially we can say that Tanya, since it's the Torah, included in the Tanya, all the oral Torah of Chassidus, meaning everything's there in a nutshell, and included also in the Tanya is the fifth part of Tanya, which is called Kuntres Achron, similar to the fact that there was the fifth part of 5 books of Moses, Sefer Devarim, the final additional part of the fifth book of the Torah, which Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Jewish people. Similar to that, in Tanya, you have a fifth part of Tanya was added to it, which is called Kuntres Achron, which is a compilation of all the added Torahs that the Alter Rebbe said, and it was included afterwards in a later printing into the Tanya, the fifth part of Tanya. And then the final 17, paragraph 17 of today's Sikha, 1991 Ekev, is, and the main point here in everything we've spoken before is the true and complete redemption through our righteous Mashiach, that should happen in actuality, the Kol Mamash. And therefore, whether it's what we said before or connected to what we said, now, after we've done everything and spreading the wellsprings of Chassidus, it's very, very clear that take it from your mamash immediately, mamash, true and complete redemption must come through Mashiach Tzidkenu. And then we'll have the completion and the refuah, the healing of all the Jewish people. As even to those Jews which, the rabbis say, the people who are not able to see are going to be healed. Then the eyes of the blind will open up. By the way, there's new technology now to actually heal people who cannot, through surgery. People are able to there's new innovations very, very recently that have been tried out and working on being able to heal people who have been blind. The time is more than this. Hashem will come to heal the world. It says Hashem is going to first heal the blind. both in Shem Nasim Sagir in a way that they can actually see even more. Rebua have a lot of light. Simply put, both in Shem it won't. Mele yesh b'efshotam mikol v'moto agam yoter taktav ha'regula. I'm not going to go into the details of what Sagina means and how it shows us here, but what it shows is that everybody will be able to see, even blind people, and they will be able to see both physically, not just spiritually, but physically. They'll be able to read and learn Torah from regular written, right? They won't need the braille. Kechadam, like everybody. Okay.
It's even on a metaphorical level, like just like everything else that the Rebbe talks about and the Torah talks about.
Yeah.
It's not just literally blind people, but people.
Maybe
it's also people that are
see.
blind to Torah words, or
Yes.
blind to the insight.
Yes.
And by the way,
I have just one more paragraph. Should I just finish? Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say that Google only started in 1998 and Chabad.org in 1994. So obviously, now it's really spread.
Now it's really auspicious. Yeah. Okay, La'ir, there it comes. That then in time of Geulah, we will not need for written letters even. We won't need to read it. Why? We'll all hear Torah from Hashem himself, from Hashem's essence. Like it says, Torah Chadashah Me'ititza, new Torah will come from within me. From me. Through the seasoned student, Amiti, the true seasoned student, who is Mashiach Tzidkenu, our righteous Mashiach. She'elamed kolam, he'll teach the whole nation at the Torah Chadashah, the new Torah. Matzmutamot from Hashem's essence. Hashem himself. But the Sefer Biur Bazbar with his explanation, additional explanations. The Limud B'Pchinat Torah will also learn with our ability to see dafka. We won't need to written letters. Like it says, we won't need to teach each other because we'll all know Hashem. From the small to the big. It's the small to big people, everybody will be able to see Hashem. I mean, even not such great high-level people of learning. We would think, you have to be this, I guess, seasoned student to be able to understand, the Torah Mashiach. No, everybody will be able to see Hashem and understand Hashem. Immediately after this moment, this will be the moment before Geulah. Like we said before, for those who need now, for Shlema, Hashem will heal them, and through this, take it from Yad, through the learning, they'll be immediately able to see Ma'aluta and a high level. They'll read and learn Torah until the wholeness and completion of learning Torah in the Geulah Mitzvah Shlema, in the Torah Chadasha, the new Torah that will come from Hashem, like we mentioned before. And the main thing is Geulah Mitzvah Shlema, the true and complete redemption through Mashiach Tzidkenu, our righteous Mashiach, immediately mamish. Okay, so we didn't do any footnotes. We didn't do any footnotes, but what time is it? Let me see, what time is it?
8:27.
Time for Mashiach.
It's 8:24.
This is amazing because it's showing when the Rebbe said people will be able to see, people who never were able to see. So now we know this prophecy is coming true. Like we're here, right?
Yes. And also you're right.
And also I don't remember. Do you remember him saying this in years past? This part?
I mean, you mean before 1991?
No, before. Do you remember learning it?
Before?
Yeah. No, not before 91. I mean, I remember learning it, but I don't remember to this extent that all this stuff is happening now, right?
Well, I think it's just becoming more and more real as it's manifesting.
I heard it differently today.
Did you hear about new surgeries and new things, and now it's coming true, right?
Yeah, we're seeing it much more. We're seeing this actually happening.
Do you want to close the recording?
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that you should know that I almost every day, or at least every other day, I sent a report to NPR based on what they say